Spaceship Earth has been the focal point of Epcot since its opening in 1982. The geodesic sphere houses a ride inside that chronicles the history of communication. The attraction's layout features several cultures throughout time. And throughout the attraction's history, there's been a few variations, with the narrator and script being the biggest variations of all. The scenes have stayed in the same order, with some details changed in each version. And there have been 3 sponsors for Spaceship Earth over its history. The Bell Systems was the first, and with narrator Vic Perrin, who is also the voice of the cave painter narrator in the first scene. AT&T took over in 1984, but changes weren't made until 1986 with Walter Cronkite taking over narrating duties.
In primal tribes, the skills of survival are passed on to new generations through the art of storytelling.
Jeremy Irons became a new narrator in 1994, with some subtle changes made to the dark ride at that time. And Siemens became the sponsor from 2005 to 2017, with a revamped version featuring Dame Judi Dench as narrator in 2007.
Recording our knowledge on Paleolithic. With only one small problem. When we moved, the recorded knowledge stayed behind.
Within one of the early iterations of Spaceship Earth, Walter Cronkite described the cave drawings as the art of storytelling, where descriptions of how to hunt was passed on from generation to generation as a way to describe early communication. And this idea fit within the sponsorship of a telecommunications company that wanted to show the history of human communication. In the more recent version with Dame Judi Dench, she explains how it was also a way of communication, but fitting in an overall arc of how one culture is a foundation for another's technology. In each version, the narrators stated that there's a need to have communication that you could take from place to place, and cave drawings did not allow for that portable form. I bring up the history of this scene because in all versions, with slightly different takes of history, this is a pivotal start of human communication and technology. You might be wondering if this was based on something real. Were there actual cave drawings? And a quick answer, yes. In a longer answer, the drawings on the wall in the ride are recreations of actual discovered cave paintings. The earliest of any cave paintings were discovered in what's known as the Lascaux caves in France. These were paintings done by some of the earliest humans in the Paleolithic age. The Paleolithic age has a large range to it, but these paintings are estimated to have been done about 17,000 years ago. Just to give you an idea of how long ago that is, ancient Egyptian culture is about 5,000 years ago. So as the story goes, children that lived near the caves in the 1940s were testing the depths of a deep hole. They slid down a mud ramp into the deep caverns, and it's believed that the mud ramp was actually made by the ancient painters to get down into these canvas caverns. So with flashlights, the children saw about 600 depictions of animals and people on the walls. Several animals that were depicted included deer, horses, cattle, bison, a bird, a rhino, and a whole alleyway of the felines. Animals were not the only figures painted. There are some human figures, like I pointed out, and some geometric shapes, almost like symbols, appeared on the walls as well. The ancient artists used a very small color palette of black, yellow, red, and a bit of white for their work. So are these really the first forms of communication? Because these were painted thousands of years ago, without any other written record, it's hard to have a consensus on the purpose of the drawings. Scholars have pointed out that the amount of animals put on the walls show how important they were for early humans. The connection between animals and people in this early culture is still up for debate though. Some scholars believe that these images are showing hunting techniques. And if that's so, projected images in Spaceship Earth that appear before the cave drawings are very appropriate as well. These projected visuals in the attraction have shown hunters that are after animals like woolly mammoths. There are some other ideas from researchers as well. Margaret Conkey is one such researcher that believes the cave paintings are more of a religious ritual. It's believed that the artist would also be a medicine man of sorts that was connecting to the animals on a spiritual level. Peggy Ferris, who did research for the original attraction, described the cave narrator as a shaman during a panel presentation for RetroWDW. So drawing the animals were some sort of ritual for them that would imbue the person with a kind of power. There are even some mysterious dots that appear that seem like constellations, which also points to trying to attain some kind of natural connection. Some ideas by researchers point to a third purpose that I might be a bit biased toward. The purpose of the cave drawings could be the first development of art, just plain and simple artistry. One scholar, John Halverson, pointed out that the repetition in forms and materials are like experimentation in what they could do. It could be trying to master art in the material that was found, and there are some clues with the materials that point toward it. Like I mentioned, there's a very limited color palette for the drawings, and there is a reason for it. The artist had to use materials that were nearby the paint on the wall, and these would only create certain colors. So it could be that the repetition was trying to master all these colors on the rocky canvas. The other clue to it being just art is in the repetition. Paul BAHN has said that there's a sophistication that gets better and that could indicate that the art was most likely done over some years or a few centuries. And it could even indicate more than one artist and even more than one style. Much of our more modern genres of art are built on top of what an artist has done before. Artists in more modern history learn from other artists and then build on those styles to form their own styles. It's possible that's what is happening to the paintings in Lascaux. Even though the human figures and animals are simplistic, there is also some naturalism to them, and some even look like they have animation. There is a representation without them being done in photographic detail, and what I mean by that is thousands of years later, we can still recognize what the animals are. So that means that the artist had some idea of how to represent the drawings and that they are not just abstract ones. Cave paintings are not too foreign of a concept to us modern viewers. Mural painting is a common art form, from Renaissance frescoes on chapel walls to even some artists being commissioned to paint on the side of buildings. Art can still have some purpose to communicate, like described in Spaceship Earth. There is a form of art communication in our modern times. The modern equivalent of communication through art is graphic design. Logos and graphic symbols provide meaning for us and even instruct us. Graphic designers were the ones that developed our street signs to tell us what to do in simple symbolic forms. The shapes and figures the cave artists made could have also been done like directional symbols that we have for street signs. And then take the geometric designs for the logos of Epcot itself. There's a little bit of similarity to the geometric designs done in the cave. So it's this connection to our modern graphic design that shows it definitely has a place at the beginning of Spaceship Earth. Unfortunately, the actual caves in Lascaux are no longer open to the public because of deterioration from heavy tourist traffic. That makes the recreation of Spaceship Earth even better because we get an entertaining look at one of the cave walls. But what do you think of the scene? What do you think was the purpose of the cave drawings? Leave a comment about what you think, and don't forget to like this video and even subscribe to the channel.